Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a big thank you to Stephen Dutton for sending in some awesome pictures of his squat Imperial Guard. This is just a really cool army. Absolutely just wow. Really cool project, well executed. The side armour on all the tanks is just great. Makes Guard look that little bit more realistic, which is always good for an army which is basically army in space. And the conversions on the Basilisk, you know what? I've got a couple of spare Bassies and I never use them. And you know what? I think I might convert them up and do this sort of how you've done it here, Stephen, with chopping the gun shield off half. I think that looks really, really good. I've always thought about doing it, but never done it. You know what? I think you've convinced me. You've definitely convinced me. So thank you for sending these pictures, Stephen. Absolutely fantastic. If anyone else has got any cool pictures that they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page or email them to me. And there are links down in the description below. One other thing to mention, I always forget to mention this, but I also have a Patreon page. So if you feel like supporting the channel, please pop over to the Patreon page. To give you an idea, I don't monetize any of my videos. I try to have as few adverts as possible. I don't mind if the sort of mandatory ads that there are, if you use ad blocker, doesn't affect me in any way, shape or form. I just run this whole channel just based off Patreon donations. So if you feel like supporting the channel, please head on over to the Patreon page. Right, shameless plug done. Let's get on with the video. So recently there's been a bit of chit and chat around the water cooler considering the new Death Guard, because they have dropped, and they have dropped hard. Like a big turd slapping into the toilet, they have made a big wave. And and basically, guys, they're just tearing things up, and on paper and in battle reports they are storming. They are storming. They are absolutely just taking the meta by force, and no wonder, because Death Guard were already pretty strong before they got the new codex. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, mordianglorytv Death Guard aren't that good. Death Guard were good when they had the 8th edition codex. They were always good. They went from being very good to just okay, and then 9th edition dropped and they went back to being very good, and this 9th edition codex has really boosted them. Okay, and it's the simple fact that they are really, really drawable. And there are a lot of armies that are scrabbling around at the moment and are going, how the hell do I deal with these new Death Guard? Because they all have 2 wounds, but they ignore, essentially, damage 2 weapons. You know, they treat everything that's damage 2 as damage 1. They reduce all damage by 1. And the thing is that everyone has been building, and everyone will be forced in many ways to continue towards building to deal with Marines, because the new standard is 2 wounds, so you've got to be taking those 2 damage weapons. But you know what? Games Workshop tends to charge a bit of a premium for the old flat damage weaponry. Ostensibly, things like autocannons and whatnot aren't that great, but they get, the Exterminator autocannon is not a good choice on your Lehman Russ. But Games Workshop, they slap a big old price tag on it because it has a nice reliable damage out. Now a lot of players are scrabbling for solutions, and essentially there's 2 ways to approach the new Disgusting Resilient rule, which is you either need to just overwhelm the new Disgusting Resilient rule with weapons that hit so hard they're always going to do like a minimum of 3 damage. Or you have to just do such a high volume of fire of damage 1 stuff that you just grind them down. Well, you know what's really interesting? Guard can do both of those things really, really well. In fact, we don't have access to a huge amount of flat damage 2 weaponry. I mean, we have plasma and we have autocannons. The rest of it isn't really flat damage 2. It's a bit variable. But one of the things that I can see traditional Guard options struggling with against the new Death Guard is things like, your battle cannons, because they're damaged E3, that they're more often than not. You have to get 5 or 6 for those things to be efficient. So battle cannons aren't looking great. But aside from that, you are going to be looking at things like like Demolisher Cannons are great. If you're looking at leaving rust options, Demolisher Cannons are great because they're a D6 damage. So you've got a 66% chance of rolling a dice that's just going to squash them. You know, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Which is great. So Demolisher Cannons are still in. All those fancy new heavy bolters that everyone's been strapping to vehicles and whatnot, probably want to... Yeah, you can keep them because they're the cheap option, but if you're going to go with anything, you should probably go with heavy flamers at this point. Or even just plasma, because you don't have to overcharge it, and it's got the AP to just slap through the regular Plague Marines. But yeah, but the other ways of looking at this is the volume of fire that Guard can put out. I mean, we have things like Punisher Cannons, Tank Ace Punisher Cannons, which can be all AP -1. You know, 40 shots from a grinding advance thing. That's actually quite a good way of dealing with the new Death Guard. Is it efficient? Hell no. But it is. It will get the job done. I mean, you're looking at 40 shots on a tank commander, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s at least. You know, wounding on 4s, and you're putting those Death Guard onto a 4-up save. That's fine. You'll take a good chunk out of a lot of units. You know, you're looking at like 30 hits, 15 wounds. 7 will go through. That's like 3.5 Death Guard people. That's like most of a 5-man squad taken out there and then. That's at least a teeth pulled out of a Death Guard squad. And that's just from the main cannon. We're not even adding in the other stuff. So yeah, definitely the overwhelming route, overwhelming damage 1 stuff would be the way I would go in for myself personally. As far as lasguns are concerned, the new Death Guard doesn't really mean anything to them. If anything, it's probably easier for us because, I mean, we don't have to try and get through that fire but feel no pain anymore. So there's lots of ways of looking at it. But one thing I want to say is, you know what? When I've been doing a little bit of analysis on this, I think that Guard might be in a quite envious position of being anti-meta. You guys are going to be saying, oh, here Mordian Glory goes again. He's always talking about Guard being anti-meta, but we never see it happen. It's like, fair enough. But that's because, you know, a lot of people on YouTube battle bots don't do it properly. You won't get into that now. I don't want to be throwing any rocks, you know, people start throwing rocks back at me. But one, you know, if you were to watch some of the big YouTube battle bots out at the moment, you would think that, wow, Guard are just in such a bad place. And, you know, you can't really deny that they are a tricky place. But Guard against Death Guard, Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum versus Death Guard, we are in actually a position to just not worry about it. Why? Why do you say these things, Warning Glory? Are you mad? Are you mad? Well, to be honest, maybe. But we have access to 2 things which make us just really good at killing chaos. And I think it's really easy for people to forget this because I've watched several YouTube battle bots, and I don't know if these people are just skewing it to make it look like the Death Guard are really good, and you know they're getting backhanders from Games Workshop like sell the new codex. But I have not seen anyone use these 2 very simple things to just beat the crap out of chaos. Okay, so the first one is available to all regiments. You know, it doesn't matter if you're Cadian, if you're Kashtan, if you're Mordian. Doesn't matter. The first stratagem that we have available to us that is just really, really good at killing chaos is Vengeance for Cadia. Okay, it's 1 CP. Use the stratagem when you shoot one of your Astra Militarum units. When you select one of your Astra Militarum units to shoot off our Overwatch, reroll failed hit and wound rolls for that models in this unit that target chaos units until the end of the phase. All, you know, all failed hits, all failed wounds for 1 CP on a single unit. Now, you know, there's a few ways you can get pretty good effectiveness out of this. I mean, you could blob together 2 squads of guardsmen and then first rank fire, second rank fire, then put this thing on them. That's like 80 shots, rerolling all hits and all wounds. That's pretty filthy. That's pretty damn filthy. I mean, this is what I have used this to great effect versus Chaos. Okay, now admittedly it's not against the most recent Death Guard, but it has been against it was against Thousand Suns, who had like a 2+ save versus all my lasguns because of all his dust. And how I actually got this to work was I did Vengeance for Cadia and I combined it with the Mordian stratagem. So amazingly, you know, Mordians might have a place here. Because every 6 that I roll, I got another shot. So I had 80 guys rerolling all hits and all wounds. And any 6s I got were exploding. I still have to roll the hit with it because it's an old stratagem. But still, 2 CP for rerolling all hits and all wounds and exploding 6s. Not bad. Not bad at all. So that's what, you know, you can combine that stratagem with things like Regimental Pride for the Destroyers. So I'm looking at some non-Caden and Castan options here. You know, Regimental Firstborn Pride, I should say. And that gives you to select any unit from your army in the shooting phase. Add 1 to the hit rolls made for this unit till the end of the phase. That's really good. You know, that is really, really tasty. Now there are some other units you can combine this with. I mean, you could easily put this on something like a big full squad of Sentinels. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, why would you put it on Sentinels? Well, you can put them in a squad of 3, and you could give them all something like las cannons, and that gets round the whole. Well, they only hit on 4s. You know, so they hit them, and then they're going to be wounding on 3s, re-rolling as well. I mean, it's a very effective stratagem. You can put it on heavy weapons squads. Like I said, you can put it on Sentinels. Anything that you can just blob up into a big old blob or something and slap that on, you're going to have a great time. You know, it is really good. So that's the first thing, and that is 1 CP for us to basically go, I'm going to just diddle a Chaos unit. And you start combining this. You start combining this with things like you've now got Concentrated Fire from the Greater Good. You know, again, so you're rerolling all hits and all wounds, and you're getting +1 to hit and +1 to wound on one of your heavy weapon squads. It just starts getting a bit ridiculous, you know. So, and this is just 1 unit you can do that on. And then you've also got, you know, Destroying Pride, and you've got like the more things, and you've got you've got loads of different stratagems. Guard have got access to a lot of stratagems which actually boost our ballistic skill, but focusing specifically, that Vengeance Decay stratagem is just mad. I mean, imagine putting that on the aforementioned Punisher Tank Commander. You know, 40 shots. So you could go down the Destroying route, right? And you could take your 3 tank commanders, but you could then also take another Leman Russ and give him Firstborn Pride to say, you know, each turn for 1 speed to essentially make him into a 3rd tank commander, into a 4th tank commander. Sorry. So you could have 4 Punisher tank commanders in you know, 3 proper ones and 1 with a stratagem each turn. 4 Punisher tank commanders. 3 of them you could put re-rolling 1s to hit on, and 1 of them you could put re-rolling all hits and all wounds on. That's mad. And then you start being like, you know what? Why don't I ally in like a little Cadian detachment, a little Cadian spearhead, and take Pask? Then you've got 5 tank commanders and 3 mortar teams, and a company commander who issues it to all the mortar teams. So everyone's just re-rolling everything all the time. Firepower. That's what it's called. So yeah, you've got loads of really good options there. You know, that's one way of just, you know, really getting the most out of this one little stratagem, and just overwhelming the Death Guard with just pure Daka, because they're a close range army. So I've banged on about this one stratagem, okay, and I've given some other examples of how it can fit in the wider scope of your army. 1 CP, reroll all hits, all wounds. You can't go wrong with that. The other one is, and this is a bit more, you have to build around this, okay? But the other one is Cadian, as in the Cadian regiment trait. It has one of just the most troll-tastic relics for fighting chaos. It's called the Relic of Los Cadia. You put it on a Cadian model. It's once per game. The bearer can unveil this relic at the start of any turn. Until the end of that turn, you can re-roll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 for all Cadian units within 12 inches of the bearer. You can instead re-roll all failed hit and wound rolls for these units until the end of the turn if they're targeting a chaos unit. So it's a 12-inch bubble, okay? It's a big bubble. It's a 12-inch bubble, and you put that on a dude in the middle of your army. So it's a 24-inch radius. So that's going to get most of your army. And everyone in your whole army for one turn get rerolled hits and reroll wounds when targeting chaos. And you know what? It's a good enough relic that it actually can be used as a take all comers, because one of the things that, you know, puts people off Cadian is that they have to stand still to get their main benefit of rerolling ones to hit automatically, or you put take aim on them and they get reroll all hits, okay? But you want to be able to move forward for a turn or two. Well, what the great thing about the Relic of Los Cadia is, even if you're not using it as a basically auto win versus chaos, which to be honest, it is a bit of an auto win versus chaos, you can move everything forward turn one, pop the relic, still get reroll ones across most of your army, you know, and feel like a true Cadian, and then turn two, you know, you're in the middle of the board, you're brawling over it. Most of the stuff will be in position, and so there'll be a few units that don't get the full Cadian rerolls, but most will, and those few that don't, it doesn't matter, because you already, you know, you can just put some other strategies like first one fast and fire on them. So, yeah, I mean, the Relic of Los Cadia is amazing. It is really, really good. I've seen, I've seen armies, you know, like the top chaos lists going up against, you know, a pretty normal guard army. It's not even mine. We're talking down at the club. Back in the day when you could take 1 billion demon princes, and the guard player was like, "I am Cadian, and I've taken the Relic of Los Cadia." And this is tournament practice. The club mates have just gone, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll see what happens turn one, but you know, good game, and we'll play out again. We'll get another game of practice for the tournament." And I've had people go, "Yeah, turn one that went predictably. Most of my chaos army is now dead." Now, Death Guard are really tough. Don't think I don't want you to think I'm underplaying how tough they are. But for a turn you can get full hits and full reroll hits and wounds against them, and then every single turn you can pick one of your really good units and just again get full rerolls to hits against them. I mean, and wounds via Vengeance of Cadia. It just starts getting crazy. I mean, when you think about this, you know, there's a few ways of looking at it. There are a few ways of looking at it. So, just if you imagine a scenario where you go Cadian, you know, so you go with the ultimate chaos busting force. You know, who you're going to call? Cadia, because you got ghosts, and ghosts are chaos and heresy, so you're going to kill them. Okay, we're not going to put them in a little box. We're going to kill them anyway. You know, when you think about this, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but you could take a couple of full payload manticores. You know, full rerolls to hit and to wound with full payload manticores is pretty insane. I mean, for a turn, that's really gonna hammer someone. And when you take into account that, I believe, and I want to double check this because I don't want to speak out of turn. Come on, Codex, don't let me down now, buddy. There we go. Yes, I knew it. I don't know why I even doubted myself. The Storm Eagle rocket on the Manticore, strength 10, so it's like, suck it, Chaos Nurgle bastards. I'm still wounding you on 2s. You know, you're wounding them on 2s. It's just fantastic. And it's AP -2, which, to be honest, considering the, you know, one of the strongest things about the new Death Guard is not the Plague Ones. They're good, okay, but the strongest thing about the new Death Guard is them Terminators. I mean, Blight Lord Terminators were already amazing, but now they're even better. So, but they kept their 4-pin vulnerable save, so you don't need anything more than AP -2. So you take a Manticore, you full payload that bad boy, so he's damage 3, which is really good for slapping. Yeah, you're still going to take more than one shot to kill those Terminators, but fair enough. But you know, you just slap 2 full payload Manticores into a squad of Terminators. Oh yeah, I might only be hitting on 3s, but hitting on 4s, but I've got, you know, reroll all hits and all wounds. Oh, and then you go, oh well, you know what? I'll use that. I'll use the direct fire strategy from Greater Good, which gives me a +1 to hit on a Manticore. So it's actually, I'm hitting on 3s. Crazy. If you start souping, which you definitely could. I know we'll keep it with the Cadia thing for now. But yeah, rerolling all hits and all wounds. It's just great for a turn, and then every turn after that, you just slap Vengeance for Cadia on a full payload Manticore and just launch Storm Eagle rocket after Storm Eagle rocket for 4 turns of the game, just rerolling all hits and all wounds into these Nurgle bastards. They're going to crumble. They're just going to crumble because you have to just overwhelm them with just everything. And the thing is, what not to forget, on a more serious note, what not to forget is, now this is desperate because of the contagion rule, so I don't recommend this as a go-to, but in a pinch, if you can set it up right, the Lost Relic of Cadia works in combat as well. It's for the turn, okay? It's very specifically says it's for the turn, okay? All failed hit rolls and wound rolls for the turn. So it won't affect your Ogryns or your Bullgryns, but it does mean if you have, if you just have to assault that lone remaining Plague Marine off that objective and you just have to kill him, you can just be like, okay then, I will blob up 2 blobs of Guardsmen, I will give you the beans with first rank fire, second rank fire, Relic of Los Cadia, and whatever is left over, I am going to charge 20 Guardsmen to you, and I'm going to reroll all hits and all wounds against you. And I have a priest nearby, and you can set it up, so if you can set it up where you can get maximum damage in the shooting phase and a little sprinkling, or even maximum damage in the combat phase, as long as you don't mind getting minus toughness on your first, your sacrificial wave, after that, you're going to be laughing. So I think the point is here, guys, is that Guard are one of the few armies that have some very specific anti-chaos stuff in them. And for the time being, Death Guard, if we're taking a proper list, we're not taking just a terrible list. We'll take, one that can't beat an egg. But if you're turning up with a decent Guard list and you're going up against just a normal Nurgle list, there's no reason why you can't just slap down Vengeance of the Cadia. There's no reason why you can't just unveil the Relic of Los Cadia and just smash them. So I think if Death Guard do become really, really prominent, okay, because I'm just going around in circles now, so let's end this video. But if Death Guard do become really prominent, like, okay, these guys are going to be shaping the meta. If you're going to a tournament, don't build to fight Marines, they're easy, build to fight Death Guard, because they're dead hard. If that's the case, then you build to the meta, then you're like, okay, I will be turning up as Cadian, and I will be Relic of Los Cadia and Vengeance of Cadia. All the Cadian stuff. Anyway, guys, let's leave it there, because that video probably could have been 5 minutes. If it could have been take Vengeance for Cadia, take Relic of Los Cadia. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. That's what the video could have been, but it's not a Morning Glory video unless I'm rambling and incoherent. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know if there's anything I've missed. Are there any other proper anti-chaos, anti-Death Guard stratagems, relics, things that we can use that will just make our lives easier for killing chaos and killing Death Guard? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.